Are you thinking of starting a business after retirement? In this video, I'm going to share with you 7 things that you'll want to consider before you do. Hi, welcome to Retire Certain. Here I share what we learned on our adventure moving from a scary and uncertain financial future to financial independence beginning around age 50 after we stumbled into early retirement. And we were using both traditional investments like stocks and bonds and also alternative income streams and retirement strategies that are ignored in traditional retirement. That's what I talk about here and on my blog, retirecertain.com. In this video, I want to share with you, though, some really important things about starting a business after retirement. This is one of the best things that we decided to do after we stumbled into early retirement on so many levels, but we also learned so much about this, and I want to point these things out. Starting a business in retirement can be one of the smartest things that you can do, simply because it's so easy to start a business now with the internet. Not everything has to be online, but it certainly makes so much sense because there's no capital required. There's no risk other than your time. And if nothing else, you learn a ton that is a marketable skill. Well, because everyone, the internet is important now. It's a highly valued skill, knowing how to start an online business and how to handle websites and doing technology things. So deciding, though, what kind of business you want to start can be really hard, and we've kind of gone down some rabbit holes that didn't work out, and we've done a couple things that worked out really, really brilliantly. So the very first thing I want to share with you, and this is, when I work with clients and in my programs, I like to start with how much capital you want to use, because the amount of capital you want to use is really going to determine what kind of business you're going to start, what would make the most sense for you, and what your options are for getting off the ground with that business and how quickly. So it's really important to just define first how much capital do you want to use before you start your business. You may have heard me talk about how we were looking at buying an existing business. We decided it was way too much capital and too much risk for us. That didn't make sense. We quickly backed out of that after we realized that. So starting with the amount of capital you want to use can help you streamline the process here. Now, I did jump ahead a little bit because all of this really is based on the lifestyle that you want to live and how much income you want to generate, and whether income generation is your primary goal from starting your business, or whether it's building an asset that you can sell later, which is also a fantastic way to build wealth after 50, and certainly a doable endeavor, right? So the next thing I want to touch on, or point I want to make after you've defined how much capital you want, make sure you stay tuned, because the very last thing I'm going to talk about is super important, and it's a great strategy that works for a lot of people. So the very next point, and something that we did, and I'll tell you a little story about this, is identify your highest skills. So what I like to do in working with clients is, and what we did 15, 20 years ago when all this first began, is I said, what do we have that we can use? What assets do we have that we can use to start a business? And in addition to capital that's available for us to put into it, skills do we have that we want to use? Because no matter what, you're going to have certain skills to run a business, but tapping into your highest skills can be sort of your special sauce. They're the thing that you can really, really bring to the business that no one else has. And what we had was my husband's bio. Larry had traded professionally for decades. He had traded options professionally for years, since the 1980s. So I identified this as our highest skill, really one of our highest assets, in order to start a business later in life. And so this was kind of the direction, well, it was the direction that we took for one of our online businesses. And Larry began teaching people to trade options. Shortly after this business was started, it was profitable because there weren't many people that had his level of professional background, that were doing something like this, right? So we put together, I knew how to start an online business, he knew how to trade options, boom, put those together, and that made sense for us starting an online business around that. So identify your highest skill and use that as the asset to help you start a business and define what kind of business you want to start. Okay, and let me mention that most people play down their assets, but we know a lot of stuff by the time we're older, right? We know 2 or 3 topics really, really well at a level where we can really teach someone that it's not everyday knowledge by the time we get to that point in life where we know so much about it. So that's the second thing I want to share with you. The next question that I would suggest you ask yourself, or area to explore, is if you want to partner with someone. Are you someone that really loves working alone? Or are you someone that always likes to have a partner? And I think that there are both types of people. We work together. Larry and I are partners in our businesses, and that's plenty of partnership for me. I tend to do things on my own. But a lot of people want to work with somebody. So figure out if you want to partner with someone. If you do want to partner with someone, then you'll be able to really, that last point I made about your highest skill, you're going to be able to make that less important, because you can bring someone to the table that has a skill that you don't have, that's their highest skill. So you kind of marry those highest skills. And I guess that's a little bit like what we did with Larry's option trading background, and I had learned how to build online businesses, putting those 2 skills together. So we were partners. But when you have a partner, whether or not you're married, and you do a business together, that's a foundational piece, because deciding whether or not you're the kind of person that wants to partner will really guide you into starting an online business, or starting, not necessarily online, but starting a business after retirement, and what kind of business you want to start. And keep in mind too that a lot of aspects of your business can be outsourced. You don't have to do everything yourself. I'm big on delegation. We have a team. We could never do what we do without a reliable team to help us get this done. And so keep in mind that you can outsource someone for probably less than you can give away half your business to a partner. And that's something that I learned, okay? And so trust me on that one, all right? Okay, the next one I want to mention is locale. Well, let me back up one. The next one I want to mention is how many hours do you want to work, and when do you want to work? So we work quite a few hours in our businesses. We don't mind, because we really enjoy what we do, but we also really, really want to have flexibility. We would like to be able to just go for a walk with our dog in the middle of the day, or not in the summer in Austin, but in the winter. We like to be able to do that, and we like to set our own schedule. We don't mind working some on the weekends. But it's important that we don't have to be on someone else's schedule. Some types of businesses are going to demand that you cater to your customers during certain hours, and that's important to consider if you like setting your own schedule. The next factor that I'll suggest you look at is whether or not you want to work from a certain locale. To be forced to work from a certain locale, I would say, or forced is probably not the right word, but need to work from a certain locale, okay? So we like that we can work from anywhere. We typically work from our home offices. We're kind of homebodies at this point in our lives after living overseas and doing lots of traveling before we had kids. We don't mind that, but we can also take our laptops if we want to drive to the mountains. We can work from anywhere, really. So how important is that to you, and do you want to start a business that will allow you to live or work from anywhere while you're, in retirement, right? Then the next factor to consider is whether or not you want to be able to scale. When you can scale, you can significantly increase the amount of money that you make. You can build an asset that will be easier to sell when you have a scalable business. So being able to scale is a really important element in deciding what kind of business you're going to start. For example, say that you're going to be a consultant. You want to start a consulting business after retirement. It may seem like that's hard to scale, and it's not the easiest business to scale. But what if you have a process that you take your clients through, and then you can hire other people to be able to take them through the process, so that you're not the only one that does this? That makes that a scalable model. Let's say that you build websites for people. if you hired people that work for you to build the websites instead of just you building the websites, then that makes that a scalable service-based model. So if scaling is important to you, then you can't do something that is simply a one-on-one business. Having said that, most businesses can be scaled, and most people don't realize how easy it is to scale a business, or they don't see the different ways to scale a business if they're used to working one-on-one. The next factor to consider is whether or not you want to have inventory. I have an Amazon store, and I decided I really don't like handling inventory. It's a hassle, I think. Plus my plate was just spread too thin. So inventory is really a different business from other business models that are information based, such as we have. So consider if you want to have inventory. On the other hand, that may be what you're great at. You may be a furniture maker, or you may be an artisan jewelry maker, or you may have a product that's uniquely you, or you may be great at sourcing products that maybe that had to do with your background, your career background. That may be perfect for you, and you may be good at managing inventory. So it's really all about you and what you want. All these factors that I'm mentioning are things to consider before starting a business in retirement, so that you start something that after you get it going, you're going to be happy with it and it's going to meet your needs, instead of starting it and getting it going and going, oh, this isn't really what I had in mind. All right. So trust me, I've lived with these things, lived through these things, and worked with clients on these things. And then the next factor is, I touched on this a little bit, do you want to simply have income from your business that you're starting, or do you want to build wealth? Do you want to create a marketable asset? So an example of this is building a website that you can sell later on. You may have seen my other videos where I talk about the business now that is so becoming so much more popular is buying and selling websites. And so to start an online business that you can later sell for a profit is absolutely something that's doable. In fact, we had no idea that this would happen, but we realized after a few years that we had created an online business that is a marketable asset. We have no plans in selling it now, but when I was updating our net worth, I realized I had to put that down as an asset, right? So is your goal simply to get enough income that you're a little more comfortable, you know, retiring, that you can maybe pay for a trip or two, or allow you to save a little extra money? Or is it to build an asset that you can sell later and truly create some wealth later in life? That's certainly and absolutely an option. And then I've touched on already a little bit consulting as a way, a great business to start after retirement. And I throw that out again, I mention it again because it's such a great way to get going. It costs absolutely nothing to get started, and it's an easy model where you can really tap into your skills. It's also something, as I mentioned, that can be scaled later on should the business take off, or you find that you really enjoy working, or you want to work more, or maybe you want to work less, and you're going to scale the model and get other people to do the consulting work that you've based on a model that you've developed. And then the last one I want to mention is the service-based business, where you're doing services for other people. That type of business is also scalable. It can be an excellent business to start after retirement, and all of this goes back to what it is that you want to create in your life. If you found this information helpful, watch this video next.